Hey, welcome back to Average Andrew Adventures. Today's adventure, I'm here in Winter Park, and I'm going on the Winter Park Scenic Boat Tour with my mom and her group of friends. I haven't been on a boat tour before, so this should be fun. Get some nice Florida scenic areas and have a nice relaxing day. I need one of those, a nice relaxing day. So join me, my mom, and her friends as we go on a boat ride. Sounds good? I think so. Let's do this. Onward!
It's hurricane, 20 below temperature. So this is perfect.
You down here? I guess so. Don't have any more seats.
That's fun, right? Alright, let's... Oh, here we go.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you all to the Winter Park Scenic Boat Tour. My name is Howard, and today we are going to be going into 3 lakes and 2 canals. We're going to start right here on this lake. This is called Lake Osceola. Lake Osceola was named after the great war chief Osceola, the Seminole Indian tribe. This is the Alvin Palacic Museum, and Alvin Palacic was a Czechoslovakian-born sculptor. He and his wife moved into this house to retire. When old Alvin died in 1965, she converted the home into a museum. It's a beautiful sculpture garden museum. Now on the same grounds, same property as our museum, is our oldest house in Winter Park. This is the James Capen House. James Capen built this house in 1885. But what makes that house so unique is that James Capen built that house on the other side of this lake. In order to get it where it is today, they had to float it. So when we get to that side of the lake, later in our tour, I'm going to explain just how they floated that house across the lake. So y'all remember, James Capen, 1885, okay? It's going to be a quiz.
It's 2 years after my grandmother was born.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a long time ago.
She was 50 when she had my father in 1933.
Wow. Back then, that was really dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, folks, we're going to get into our first canal. This is the Fern Canal. This was hand dug in 1870. And they dug this canal mainly for lumber. Before citrus really took off here in Central Florida, we were known for our lumber and our cattle export. So they dug this canal to shoot all the lumber through to the sawmill at the other end of Lake Virginia, and they would ship it up north for the carriage companies. The horse and buggy carriage companies loved our cypress wood, and they utilized this canal to get it all to the sawmill.
Wow. Didn't even know this was here.
This is nice.
Got some bamboo here on our right. That's called Calcutta bamboo, but we call that fishing pole bamboo. Now we're coming up to our first bridge. This is the Osceola Avenue Bridge. And with all the rain we've been getting lately, this bridge keeps getting lower and lower. So everybody, watch your heads here. Watch your heads, guys.
Oh,
It's a
shit.
low bridge. Be careful.
Oh,
It really is.
If you make it, we'll get it. You're a customer.
Yeah, yeah. If you see me duck, duck. Got a little sculpture on our left. That's Jeremiah. And he was a good friend of mine.
I never understood a single word he said.
You know, some people don't get that. You got to be at a certain age to understand that. I'll have young folks in my boat, and they're like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Now, this is beautiful Lake Virginia. This is home to Rollins College. The little canal coming into view on our left, that little canal leads to Lake Mizell. And Lake Mizell is the smallest of all of our lakes here in the chain. It's only about 50 acres. That's also the only lake you can see from the road. So if you're driving around Winter Park and you're looking for the chain of lakes, these are all hidden. You just see little tiny Lake Mizell. And this is a peninsula named Windsong, and it has 4 estates on it. This first estate, 1927, that was the Winter Park Gentlemen's Club. You can imagine that as a gentleman's club in the 20s. Yeah, those walls could talk, right? Rollins took it over briefly as a music department, but right now it's a privately owned estate. So if you're fortunate enough to have one of these 4 estates, you can have your coffee at sunrise overlooking Lake Mizell, your sunsets and cocktails overlooking Lake Virginia. And let me tell you, when you get your first tax bill on that house, you're going to need a cocktail. Cormorants. And what they're doing is they're herding fish underneath them. They're pushing them all into the shore, and then once they get them all in a bunch, they'll start diving down and picking them off one by one. So their little feetsies are busy. Here on our left, all this property, this is the largest piece of undeveloped land in Winter Park, and that will never be developed. And that's thanks to a Jeanette genius. This is the genius estate. And Jeanette was the granddaughter of Hosmer Morse, one of our founding fathers here in Winter Park, and she married a man named Hugh McKean, and they took a trip to India. And when they returned, they brought back a male and a female peacock and let them go on this estate. Now, over the years, these peacocks have just multiplied and multiplied to the point now they're the symbol of Winter Park. They're on all of our street signs, our manhole covers, right here in our city flag. And these birds are allowed to do pretty much whatever they want. And they do. They roam into different neighborhoods. They roam through your yard. They roam on top of your car, scratch your paint. They get on top of your pool enclosures and tear up your screens. They're very destructive, but they are protected. So all you can say is it's just good to be a Winter Park peacock, and there's nothing you can do about them. sailing team and their water ski team facilities on our left. But Rollins is best known for their crew team. Their crew team's fantastic. They finish top 10, if not top 5 every year. Believe it or not, this lake is way too small for their crew team. We've got to go to our big lake Maitland for those facilities. And I'll show you that in just a bit. Together, the black and the red crane.
Dad joke.
I gotta take advantage of it because they're not here long. They migrate back up north. They're building the new Rollins College Museum. Folks, this was the old sawmill, and this is where all the lumber would be brought. They'd load it up on a small gauge train and train it out to Orlando, where they would ship it up north with the carriage companies. But this train was so small, every time they loaded it up, the darn thing would pop the tracks. It would derail. But it was small enough that the guys could physically get off the train, pick it up, and put it back on the track. So they nicknamed it the Dinky Line, and that name stuck. This Dinky Dock. Public dock, public swimming, 2 boats over here, 2 boat ramps. Any kind of boat you got, you can put them in right there, and you have free access to the entire chain of lakes. Now, if I have any anglers on board, that's the best bass fishing dock in Winter Park. I've caught more big bass off Dinky Dock than any other dock on these lakes. So if you guys and gals like to fish, that's your spot right there. Up the little dock on our left, the blue chairs. Folks, that's the Rollins College study dock. Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to ever find a book on that dock. I have seen coolers stacked up on that dock. But you got to be careful, because your next door neighbor in the Spanish Villa, that's where the president of Rollins College lives. So take a book down to that dock, save your scholarship. All these other buildings are privately owned condominiums. They do. I've got a flat roof. I've got a Bitman roof, they're called, and they do leak. Because the water will pool if you don't get up there after each rain and brush all that debris and stuff off. Yeah. And it is an older house. It was built in the 50s.
Well, they're building new ones the same way.
They just need to put some kind of a pitch on them so that the water will run off.
Oh wow, they got a ladder going up to the tree. A great spot to sit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got some bananas up here.
Too high.
Yeah, they're starting to rot.
Bummer. What a waste.
Now y'all watch your heads for me one more time. We should be all right. It's not as drastic going this way since we're going downhill. I want to point out the oak tree on the left side of the canal. This oak tree is older than the United States. And if you look at the trunk on that tree, it's what you call a mighty oak. Beautiful tree. Older, yeah, they gauged him to be about 310. As we merge back into Lake Osceola, I want to point out these little stumps on the right side of the boat. Those are called cypress knees, and that's the root system for that cypress tree. That's how it receives all of its oxygen through those little knees. They act like a snorkel for the tree. Now this little boathouse over here, that boathouse was built in 1890 by Mr. Brewer. And Mr. Brewer was a carriage builder from Cortland, New York. And he would come to Central Florida to harvest his lumber and ship it back up north for his company. And he wanted to make Central Florida his home. He wanted to live here year round. But his wife had a beautiful estate up in Cortland, and she didn't want to leave it and come down here with all the mosquitoes and alligators. She didn't want to leave her house for that. So in order to get his wife to move down here, Mr. Brewer built her an exact duplicate house. That's the same house she lives in up in Cortland. 7 bathrooms, 8 bedrooms, 2 kitchens, and a ballroom. Mrs. Brewer came to Winter Park, saw that house, became a Winter Park resident. You all know that old saying, happy wife, happy life? Underneath that it says Mr. Brewer. Pretty smart man. Now the estate here on the point, this house was built by a man named James Gamble Rogers. James Gamble Rogers was one of our most prolific architects we had here in Winter Park in the 30s, early 40s. This is one of his last projects. He built that house for Mr. and Mrs. Rich. Perfect name. And Mrs. Rich was very particular. She wanted her main living room to overlook Lake Osceola. Campbell Rogers could do that. As an architect, not a problem. She also insisted on a clean white beach, and he was having a heck of a time trying to figure out how to do that, because our sand under here is kind of a gritty gray. It's not a beachy sand. So Mrs. Rich told the architect, look, you build a house, I'll take care of the beach. And she did. She went to the world's most famous beach and got their sand. That's Daytona Beach in her backyard. You could do that back in the early 30s and 40s. You could go to the beach and dig it up and bring it home. They won't let you do that anymore. You gotta bring it back one little tiny bucket at a time. Yeah, what do y'all think of our super Walmart? Folks, that's going to be the biggest house on the lake, biggest house in Winter Park, one of the biggest homes in Central Florida. When they finish construction, that house is going to be 42,000 square feet. Well, what do you need in a 42,000 square foot house? Well, what you need is an elephant. You see the elephant on the left side? Under the cypress tree?
Oh, yeah.
Gotta have an elephant in your yard. Next month, they will have been working on that for 5 years.
You know who owns it?
It's being built by a retired couple. 2 people are going to live in 42,000 square feet. That's what I said. I said, I don't think they get along very well. You take that zip code, I take this zip code, and I'll see you Christmas. Yep. Yeah, these guys were all thrilled to death when they moved in. They just finished that. That's a remodel. They finished that last summer. They did a great job. And I love all the copper. All those downspouts is copper. Got a infinity pool right there. Yeah, that would do. Yep. Now we're getting into the Venetian Canal. Again, this canal was hand dug in 1870, but with got little critters up there.
Oh, that's cute. That is a clever spot.
Yeah, we're glad that that's not real. If that was real, we'd be in real trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mama would be right there.
What road was that you remember?
Oh, that was Palmer Avenue. And we're going next to Alabama. This is Alabama Drive on our right, as you'll see in a little bit.
Oh.
largest lake on the chain, 450 acres, and it's home to the Rollins College crew team. And their facilities are right here on the right side of the boat. This is Craft Azalea Gardens. This is a beautiful little park right in the middle of Winter Park. And all of these trees that you see surrounding, all these cypress trees you see surrounding Craft Azalea Gardens, these trees are between 600 and 800 years old. Some of the oldest trees we have here in Winter Park. And all that Spanish moss you see hanging from them, in Spanish, not even a moss. That's an air plant. Does not hurt the tree at all. And in the 1800s, that's what they used to stuff mattresses with. So when you hear that old expression, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite, that's where they got it from. Craft Azalea Gardens are open every day, closed at sunset. Yeah, they're full of red bugs.
I did photo ops there before with Dante when he was.
Now folks, if you guys have any purses or anything on the floor, when we get around some of these big wake boats, I tend to get a little bit of water through here. So everybody, put your purse or anything valuable up on the seat with you, okay? I don't want them to get wet. talking about the James Capen House, 1885, our oldest house in Winter Park. The gray house with the white trim is where Mr. Capen originally built that house, but they had to move it to make room for a modern house. And they couldn't use the roads because of the overhanging oak trees. So what they decided to do was to float the house. So they took the Capen and they literally cut it in half like a cake, right down the middle. They had one barge, nicknamed him Fred, brought Fred over, put half the house on Fred, shot him across this lake in an hour and a half. Renamed the barge Ginger, right in Ginger. Same thing with the second half of the house, roughly about an hour and a half. So within 3 hours they had that house on site. Took them a year to glue that house back together, but that's how they saved the Capen. And they did this 10 years ago, not that long. So if you want to see a video of that house cruising across the lake, look up Capen, C-A-P-E-N on YouTube, and you'll see that video. Very clever engineering. Folks, the Winter Park Scenic Boat Tour, we have been in operation since 1938. We are the oldest and longest running tourist attraction in Florida. And we do not close. We're open every day. Every day but Christmas. Christmas Day is the only day that we do not float. I tend to look forward to hurricane season. That way at least we get a day off. Well, folks, stay seated until we get tied off at the dock. I'll come to back, open that gate, we can all abandon ship. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Did you take a group picture before we disembark? Yeah.
Sure.
How many trips a day do you make?
7 or 8, depending. Usually 7 or
8. All right, back on land.
Let me have your camera.
Well, that was our Winter Park Scenic Boat Tour. It was nice. It was beautiful. I enjoyed it. We all enjoyed it. Thanks everybody for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you again next time.